On this slide, I will be talking about our purpose and rationale for our memory test. The purpose of our memory test was to gain knowledge on whether different conditions affect the amount of words somebody can recall. The condition we focused on was the length of words. For our rationale, we wanted to find out if the amount of words somebody can recall varies depending on the level of difficulty of the words. On this slide, I will be talking about our literature review and the evidence to support our study. Through research, we found that the condition we studied has an actual name, and it is called the word length effect. Many of the other studies found similar results as we did, and some studies even showed results that support long-term memory effects. While many of these studies focused on verbal recollection and we focused on written and typed recollection, they were still relevant because they had to do with word length. For this slide, I will be introducing our hypothesis and again talking about our rationale for this study. Our hypothesis for this study was if words are shorter in length, people would tend to remember more words than if the words were longer in length. And again, just restating our rationale, we were interested in gaining knowledge about memory based on word length and if there was a difference in short words and long words.
On this slide, I'm going to be talking about how many participants we had and how we recruited participants. In our study, we collected data from 31 different participants. The participants were recruited through the Lindenwood Participant Pool, also known as the LPP. The LPP is a pool of students at Lindenwood that can be recruited to participate in research studies and in exchange can earn bonus points in eligible classes. Participants signed up for our study on Sona Systems, where they were then directed to take our survey that was created through Qualtrics, which is an online survey platform. In order to gain background knowledge about participants, we included demographic questions at the end of our survey, and those questions were asking about gender, age, year in college, race and ethnicity, and the number of credit hours participants are currently enrolled in. We found that 24 of our participants identified as female and 7 identified as male. Participants' ages range from 17 to 26 years old, with majority of participants ranging from 18 to 21 years old. We also found 12 participants were freshmen, 7 were sophomores, 9 were juniors, and 3 were seniors. For race and ethnicity, 4 identified as Black, 18 identified as white, 4 identified as Hispanic or Latino, and 4 identified as other. And lastly, for credit hours enrolled in, it ranged from 0 to 21 hours, with majority of people saying they were enrolled in 15 credit hours. Now I'm going to be talking about the materials and procedure portion of our research study. To begin our research project, we first created a Qualtrics survey. The survey included an informed consent statement at the beginning stating what the purpose of our study was. After the informed consent, we stated the directions for our memory test, which was to study a list of 20 words for 90 seconds and then type the words they were able to recall. Once the directions were stated, one of the 2-word lists was shown. This was done twice, so each participant studied the long words and the short words list in no specific order and recalled the words they could. After the 2 memory tests were complete, we included demographic questions at the end of our survey. Finally, at the very end, we thanked our participants for taking part in our research and let them know if they had any questions they would be able to contact any of us. Continuing on with the materials and procedure portion of our study, in order to make our survey available to participants, we uploaded our survey onto Sona Systems, which then allowed participants to anonymously complete our survey. In return for taking part in our research, 2 bonus points were granted towards the participants' eligible LPP participating courses. For the last portion of our materials and procedures section, we discussed the type of experimental design used and how we analyzed our data. So the experimental design was a within groups design. where we randomly assigned participants to receive one of the two word sequence conditions first, with the conditions being either short or long words. Then once we received our data, we hand calculated the words recalled for each individual that took the study. Finally, we put our data into Excel and used the data analysis tool to find the results of our one-tailed related t-test.
Our research hypothesis was that shorter words are easier to remember than longer words, and the results of our study showed that there was a statistically significant difference. Um, People tended to remember more shorter words than longer words, and the mean for shorter words was 11.03, and the standard deviation was 3.42, whereas the mean for longer words was 9.32, and the standard deviation was 3.32. And this shows that our research hypothesis was right. The results of our study showed what we expected. We expected that people would remember more shorter words than longer words, and this was in fact true based off of our study. As aforementioned, the mean for shorter words was 11.03, and the mean for longer words was 9.32. The whole process of our study went smoothly, and we did not encounter any implications at all. One limitation to our study was that the list of words that we created had a certain theme, which could have altered the results. So the next time we should probably choose words completely random instead of having a certain theme